Okay, so picture this. It's, I don't know, 2 in the morning. You've had a long day. Maybe you were working late. The streets are just dead silent. You pull up to a red light, and you can see for a mile in every direction.
Yeah.
No cars, no people.
And you know for a fact there are no cameras.
And that's the key part, no cameras. You sit there for a second, the engine's just idling, and then you just go. You drive right through it. Now, be honest. In that moment, do you think of yourself as a criminal?
That really is the question, isn't it? And I think if we're all being honest, the answer is a hard no. You'd say you're being practical, efficient, maybe.
Right. But criminal, that word feels huge.
It feels like a stretch, yeah. Criminals are for, bank robbers, not for someone just trying to get home a few minutes faster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the research we're diving into today, we have a really fascinating stack of notes here. It argues that we need to stop looking at the severity of the act and start looking at the psychology behind it.
Precisely. Because the person in that car, they aren't uneducated, they aren't destitute, they know the law perfectly well.
They probably think of themselves as a good person.
A very good person. But when the conditions were just right, they treated that law like a suggestion.
And that's the paradox, right?
Yeah.
Why do otherwise good, socially conscious people treat the law as this temporary, annoying obstacle? We aren't talking about hardened criminals. We're talking about us.
And the diagnosis and the material we're looking at is, they call it short-sightedness or myopia. But that term is a bit misleading. It's not an eyesight problem.
Yeah, I saw the red light. I just decided it didn't really apply to me in that specific moment.
And that's it. It's a psychological refusal to see the law as relevant to oneself. And honestly, we're going to get into some pretty deep territory today because the explanation isn't just people are lazy.
It's existential.
It's existential. We're going to be talking about Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, the terror of being free.
Okay, hold on. You're telling me running a red light is an existential crisis?
Okay.
That feels a little dramatic for a traffic violation.
It sounds, I know. But the argument here is that law-breaking in these small, everyday ways is actually a really sophisticated method of fleeing from your own freedom, from your own responsibility. It's a defense mechanism.
Okay, I'm intrigued. I'm also a little skeptical, so let's break this down. The research starts with this idea, the psychology of evasion. What are we evading? A ticket?
No, something much, much heavier. The core idea is that humans don't really live by information. We live by meaning. You can know the entire legal code, sure. But if that law has no internal weight for you,
If it doesn't feel like it's about you,
then it is going to lose every single time to an immediate desire.
and that immediate desire is, I want to get home. I want to go faster.
Speed, money, convenience. That feeling of wanting to be home in your bed is visceral. The abstract concept of maintaining social order feels very, very cold and far away at 2 a.m.
It's like having a donut right in front of you versus the idea of being healthy in 10 years. The donut usually wins.
It's a perfect analogy. But this is where the existentialists come in and make it uncomfortable. They argue that when you run the red light and say, I couldn't help it, or it didn't matter, you're engaging in what Jean-Paul Sartre called bad faith.
Bad faith.
Yeah.
I remember this from a philosophy class. I definitely didn't pay enough attention to it. It always sounded kind of religious.
It's not. It's purely psychological. Think of bad faith like you're wearing a mask, but you're not trying to fool other people.
You're trying to fool yourself.
Yes. It's the art of pretending you are an object like a rock or a leaf in the wind rather than a person who makes choices.
Wait, a rock?
Metaphorically, look, when you get pulled over for speeding, what's the first excuse? I had to, I was late, or everyone else was going this fast, I had no choice.
Yeah, I was just going with the flow of traffic. That's the classic.
The flow of traffic made me do it. Sartre would stop you right there and say, no, you are the driver. You chose to prioritize getting to your meeting over the speed limit. When you say I had no choice, you're pretending you were just a passive object being pushed along.
You're making yourself a victim of circumstance.
Bingo. Because if you're a victim, you're not responsible. You can't be blamed. If you have to admit, I chose to break the law because I wanted to, well, then you have to carry the weight of that. You have to admit, I'm the kind of person who thinks my convenience is more important than public safety.
Oof, yeah, it's much easier to say, the traffic made me do it.
So much easier. And the research says the law acts as this uncomfortable mirror. It strips away our ability to blame the system or the circumstances. It just puts a spotlight right on you and says, you are an agent. You are in charge. And frankly, most of us just want to smash that light.
So we want the freedom to drive the car, but we don't want the responsibility that comes with the steering wheel.
That's a perfect way to say it. The benefit of agency without the burden of accountability.
But hang on, this can't all be just in our heads. I mean, we learn this behavior, right? We see other people getting away with it.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where the notes shift from the individual to the social mechanism. And this part is fascinating. It argues that in many societies, the law stops being a shared moral boundary. It becomes a game.
A game.
A game for the clumsy. The unspoken cultural message is, the law is for people who don't know how to get around it.
I think we all know that person.
Yeah.
The smart violator, the one who knows all the speed traps, or has a guy who does their taxes, or knows exactly how to talk their way out of a ticket.
And we don't punish that person. Often we admire them. We call them savvy, pragmatic.
I was reading this section in the notes about childhood development, and it was actually kind of sad.
It is sad. It describes this process of adaptation. A kid is in the back seat and watches his dad get pulled over, and the dad, he lies a little, he's charming, and he gets out of the ticket, and then he laughs about it. Got away with one there.
And the kid learns a lesson in that moment. Good doesn't mean honest. Good means smart. It means not getting caught.
Exactly. Rule breaking becomes a social skill. And the opposite is also true. Strict compliance starts to get labeled negatively. If you follow every single rule, you're rigid, you're naive.
You don't know how the real world works?
Yeah.
That's a huge amount of social pressure. It feels like if you follow the law, you're the sucker. You're the one left standing at the red light at 2 a.m. while the smart people are already in bed.
And that fear of being the sucker is incredibly powerful. It brings us back to Sartre's idea of playing roles. We stop being ourselves and we become the pragmatist. You tell yourself, look, I'm not a bad person, I'm just being realistic. This is just how you have to do business to survive.
Which creates this vicious cycle. I don't follow the law because nobody else does, and nobody else does because I don't.
And the law just becomes a decoration. We praise it in speeches, we all say we believe in order and justice, but in our actions, we ignore it. It's like this collective hallucination we all pretend is real, even while we're all cheating.
But you can't live that way forever without it kind of messing with you, can you? Can you really just be the pragmatist all day and not lose some part of yourself?
Well, the existentialists would say no, you absolutely cannot. And this leads to the internal cost. The notes bring in Albert Camus here. He talks about the absurdity of a society that preaches order but practices chaos. But on a personal level, this creates what the research calls a split self.
A split self, like Jekyll and Hyde.
A little more subtle than that, but yes, that's the idea. You end up living two parallel lives. You have the verbal life and the action life.
Okay, break that down for me.
In your verbal life, you're a model citizen. You see corruption on the news, you get angry, you tell your kids to be honest. With certainty, what is right and what is wrong. And that person is real.
Okay. And then I get into my car or I sit down to do my taxes.
And then you enter the action life. And in the action life, the operating question isn't, is this the right thing to do? The question becomes, can I get away with this?
And trying to live in that gap between those two selves, I mean, that sounds exhausting.
It creates what they call existential fatigue. It's a slow erosion of your self-respect. It's not one big dramatic moment. You just, bit by bit, lose the ability to see yourself as a moral person because deep down, you know you're constantly making compromises.
You can't look yourself in the mirror without telling a story. You're always having to justify why your rule breaking is different, why it's okay.
I cheat on my taxes because the government is wasteful anyway. I speed because I'm a good driver, unlike those other people. You have to maintain these fictions to avoid that feeling of self-contempt.
This is all great as philosophy, but I think it really hits home when we look at the specific case studies in the notes. Let's talk about the small business owner.
Yes, this is a classic, and I want to be sympathetic here because it's a brutal position. So imagine you run a small construction company. You have employees, families that depend on you, and you know for a fact that your main competitors are paying workers under the table and skipping safety regulations.
Which means they can bid 20% lower than you on every job.
So the math is simple. If I follow the law perfectly, I lose the bids. If I lose the bids, my company fails, my people lose their jobs, and my family suffers.
So they tell themselves, I have a moral duty to my family and my employees to survive. And suddenly, breaking the law becomes a virtuous act in their own mind.
That is the bad faith trap in a nutshell. They treat the law like another business expense to be managed. But notice the compartmentalization. They separate their business self from their home self. They're still a good family man. Business is business, they say.
But the research is arguing you can't actually do that. You can't split yourself in two.
No. Because by participating, even for survival, you're propping up the corrupt system. You are voting for the world that is forcing you to make this impossible choice. You guarantee that the next generation of business owners will face the exact same dilemma.
Wow. So you become an accomplice to the very thing that's hurting you.
Precisely.
Okay, let's look at the second case, which brings us right back to the start. The traffic violator.
Right. And the justification is key. No one is there. The analysis of this is fascinating. It says that for this person, the law only exists when there's surveillance.
The old, if a tree falls in the forest question. If I break a law and no cop sees it, did it really happen?
And what that reveals is that the internal standard, the internal conscience, has vanished. You've outsourced your morality to the police department. The law isn't inside of you, it's in the traffic camera. It's in the squad car hiding behind the billboard.
That's a really dangerous place to be. It means you're only good when someone's watching you.
It is the literal definition of a lack of integrity. Integrity is what you do when no one's watching. If you only stop at the light because of the camera, you're not a moral agent. You're just a rat in a maze avoiding an electric shock.
Wow. Okay, so we're rats in a maze, we're living in bad faith, we have split personalities. This is pretty bleak. So what's the solution? Please tell me there's a simple fix here.
Well, this is the tough part. The notes are very clear that there is no comfortable solution. There's no new policy or government program that fixes this. Because it's an existential problem, it demands an existential solution.
Okay, lay it on me.
Sartre's verdict is that we are condemned to be free. And freedom isn't a gift, it's a burden. It comes with no mental insurance policy. There's no guarantee that doing the right thing will pay off.
So if I stop at that red light at 2 in the morning, nobody's gonna pop out and give me a gold star. I won't get a tax refund for being honest.
No. In fact, you will lose time. You might lose that construction contract. You will probably make less money than your competitor who cheats. The solution, according to these thinkers, is to accept that losing, in a way, is part of the price of being a dignified human.
That is a really tough sell.
Yeah.
You're basically saying, hey, go out there, be honest, and prepare to lose. People are just gonna say, why should I be the sucker?
It is a tough sell. But Camus would ask, what's the alternative? The alternative is living with self-contempt. The alternative is being that leaf in the wind. The argument isn't that you're losing time at the light. You are paying for your own self-respect.
You're buying your integrity.
Exactly. If your principles cost you nothing, they're not principles, they're just preferences. You only find out what you really believe when it costs you something.
So the solution is to act as if your personal choice is setting a universal rule.
Yes. Sartre called it the universal act. When you run that red light, you're not just making a choice for you. You are casting a vote for a world where everyone can run red lights when they feel like it. You are voting for chaos.
And if I stop?
You're voting for a world where people honor the social contract. You are, quite literally, being the change.
It reminds me of what Camus said about the goal of life. It isn't happiness.
Exactly. We're all obsessed with happiness, but Camus says the real goal is to live without self-contempt, to be able to look at your own actions without needing to spin a story or play the victim.
Just to be clean with yourself. No masks.
No masks. To just be able to say, I am choosing to follow this rule because this is who I am. Not because I'm afraid of a ticket, but because I respect the community I'm a part of.
So what this research is really saying is that the law doesn't live in books at all.
Not at all. It lives in the internal willingness of each person to suffer a little inconvenience for it. If you aren't willing to be inconvenienced, you don't really believe in the law, you just believe in what's convenient for you.
That is the cold truth, isn't it? We want the world to be lawful for everyone else, to keep us safe, but we want it to be convenient for ourselves. And the existentialists are saying, nope, you can't have both, you have to pick.
And that choice is what defines you.
So, to bring this all back down to earth for a second, what does this mean for us tomorrow morning?
I think it means we have to stop looking for external fixes. We're always waiting for the system to change first. Oh, I'll stop cheating when the government gets less corrupt. I'll follow the speed limit when they raise it.
I'll be good when everyone else decides to be good first.
Right. And the research says that day is never coming. The only place the law can ever truly exist is in your own refusal to betray yourself. It's a call to stop hiding behind the everyone does it excuse.
It's a call to courage, really, but not some grand, heroic courage.
No, it's the quiet, boring courage of sitting at an empty red light at 2 a.m. Or the painful courage of losing a deal because you refuse to pay a bribe. That's the only kind of courage that actually builds a decent society.
I want to leave everyone with the final provocative thought from our source material today. It's a challenge that I think is going to stick with me for a while.
It's the ultimate test.
When there are no cameras, when there are no police, when there are absolutely no immediate consequences and you could get away with it, are you capable of living as if your actions are being recorded by you?
Can you be the person who obeys the law just so you don't have to lie to yourself in the mirror?
That is the question, and I have a feeling the answer tells you more about who you are than any personality test ever could. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
It's been a pleasure.
See you next time.